Today's episode of The Real Deal with Damian Adams is brought to you by the 3pointconversion.com. Now, 3pointconversion.com is your one-stop sports site for all your sports needs. If you're into boxing, football, basketball, WNBA, college sports, anything. I'm talking about horse racing, NASCAR. The 3-Point Conversion has your fast updates, so please follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also go to the website to get all the new articles on everything happening in sports. The 3pointconversion.com is where it's at. Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is real sports talk for the real sports fan. And I definitely appreciate all you real sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Please don't be selfish. Go ahead and tell a friend about the show. If you love it, they will love it too. Go ahead and share it with them. Don't be selfish. Go ahead and pass some macaroni and cheese around the table and let them enjoy it as well. All right, I don't know why I'm thinking about Thanksgiving. It's only June or May. June. I'm always losing the dates. It's June. So I'm already thinking about Thanksgiving. That's how greedy I am. But yeah, go ahead and pass it around. And make sure you rate the podcast, all right? We'll definitely appreciate that 5-star rating, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. The 3-Point Conversion station is where fans' opinions matter. So please let us know what you think of the show. If you think the show is hot, shout it out loud. I think the show is hot, and I'm proud. Go ahead and let us know. If you think the show can improve, just whisper it. Be a little gentle with my soul. But I do want to hear your criticism because it makes me a better host and better at everything I do. So I need that in my life as well. I appreciate you. And I definitely appreciate the guests we have on the show today because today's a special show. We're talking basketball. We're talking Twitter drama. We got a little boxing in there. Some trivia, some forgotten players. I need somebody who's versatile to be able to handle these topics today. And this guy right here isn't just a guest. He's been on several times, not just as in regular appearances. He's been on bonus episodes. He's done the full 9 with me. I've been on his show several times. This guy is family. He's somebody who can talk not only basketball, not only football, not only boxing. He can talk politics. He can talk drama TV shows. He can give you relationship advice. He knows what the lottery ticket's going to be next week. He knows everything in the book, man. This guy definitely knows his stuff. I'm talking about Mr. Rashan Reeves. He's one half of the Red Zone Live with Kelly and Rashan. And I like to call him the sexy half. We always giving credit to the ladies. I'm going to give credit to my man right here. You know what I'm saying? Man to man, manly, pound your chest. My man sexy right here. What's going on, Rashan?
David, thanks for that very, very lovely introduction, man. Yeah, I am a jack of all trades. I know a little bit about everything. You know what I mean? So, you know. What's up, Damien? How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm always happy to be talking sports with somebody who I know loves sports and knows the game. It always makes me happy. Makes everything I'm going through throughout the day, you know, my day job, whatever drama I'm going through there, goes away when I'm in the booth talking sports with somebody who I know loves sports just as much as I do.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No problem. Now, for the people who may not be familiar with you, can you please tell the people where they can listen to and find your show and where they can find you on social media?
Sure. My name is Rashan. As Damian mentioned, one half of the Red Zone Live with Kelly and Rashan. We air every Friday from 7 to 9. And, you know, we talk about everything. We talk about football. You know, we're both Philadelphia Eagles fans. I'm from Philadelphia. You know, we talk about football, basketball, everything under the sun. We don't shy away from anything. You know, Damien has been on our show, like you said. You know, you can also follow me or follow the show at the Red Zone Live on Twitter. And you can follow me personally at BabyBlack1977.
Yes, go ahead and follow him on Twitter. Great follow. Go ahead and listen to the show. Great show. And today is going to be a great show because he's on it. And we're going to start today's show, of course, talking about the NBA Finals. Now, we're 2 games down in the NBA Finals, and Cleveland is 2 games down. Now, Game 1 just to give you guys a little recap, was a great game. And Cleveland, I thought, played the best they could play for 4 quarters. The problem is the game had 5 quarters because it went to overtime. And the Warriors won 124-114. LeBron James had 51 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds. That's just dumb. In a losing effort, that's just dumb. To have that, that's just stupid. Kevin Love chipped in as well with 21 and 13. J.R. Smith had 10 points, but he might have had the biggest assist in the game. Unfortunately, it was an assist for the Golden State Warriors when he forgot to score, got an offensive rebound, and dribbled out the clock because he thought they were up. Of course, Golden State came with their normal avalanche of points. You had Draymond Green with 13 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. Steph Curry had 29 and 9 that game. Kevin Durant also had 26 and 6 to add to that. So after game 1, what were your thoughts? Did you think that Cleveland could ever recover from such a devastating loss?
Absolutely not. I actually thought what you thought, that they gave that shot and, they came up short anyway. They lost by 10. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that they were, the Golden State Warriors were aided by the refs. I didn't like the charge call. I didn't like the lack of respect LeBron James got on that call. He's the Michael Jordan of this era. And I think that now, don't get me wrong, Kevin Durant is a pretty good player too, but I just think in that moment, it's less than a minute, Cavs up 2, that basically got the Warriors back in the game. Because Kevin Durant then sank 2-3 free throws, and then, everything happened after that. But I think the Cleveland Cavaliers gave him that best shot. LeBron James scored 51 points. I think he was the first player out of 5. I think it was 5 other players, 6 total, but 5 other players besides LeBron that scored 50 points, but all won their game. He was the first in a losing effort. So that had to be heart-wrenching. And, listen, Cleveland, they showed everything they had that night. Unfortunately, it was in a losing effort, and I think that was their one shot. Now, they may get one in Cleveland, but I'm thinking that Golden State is going to try to sweep them because I think that they're tired of hearing about LeBron and how great he is and how, the lack of, talent he has on his team. I think they're tired of hearing about that because his excuses. It's almost like devaluing their championship. And I think that Golden State is going to go for the juggler. I think they're going to try to sweep these guys.
Yeah, I called a sweep last week when I had the other half of the Red Zone Live on the show, Kelly. And the reason I called it a sweep is because last year, when LeBron had more help with Kyrie Irving, they only won 1 game. And in that 1 game they won, they had to literally break records to win that 1 game. They had to hit the most threes we've ever seen hit in an NBA Finals game just to win 1 time. And they don't have the type of team that can do that against this Warriors squad, especially without that secondary superstar like a Kyrie Irving. You think about this game where LeBron scores 51 points, and you mentioned the big charge block call. I'm right there with you. Now, if they would have called it a block to start with, I don't think anybody will blink an eye because it's a bang-bang call. He is moving. Now, you do have the right to move. You have to be square in front of the player when you're moving. But if you're moving and it's felt that you're not square in front of that player, you can call a block. And in that one, it was so close that if a block was called to start with and they just stuck to it, no one blinks an eye. But the fact that you're nervous in that situation and you use a rule that shouldn't have been in effect in that situation. So the rule is, if you can't tell if the player is beyond the restricted area, you can review it. And during that review, if it looks like it's a block or charge that you should change it, you can change it then. But LeBron was so well beyond the restricted area, Stevie Wonder could have saw that. Like, we saw that he was well beyond the restricted area. So there was no need to review that part of it because that's supposed to be the initial review. So you use that to get yourself into a position where you can look at the charge block call. And now, like I said, it's a tough call. I do think, I would say, if I was a referee at that moment, I would call block at the moment, right? Because I probably would have saw LeBron moving and saw KD trying to shift to the side and saw that he wasn't square in front of him. But you can't change that. You can't change that right there. Like you said, Michael Jordan does not get that call changed. If he takes a charge right there and they call it a charge, it's staying a charge. And LeBron is on that level. I'm not saying he's better than Michael, but he's on that level where he should get that respect that you say he deserves. All right, so let's get to JR. They down by 1. George Hill gets fouled. George Hill goes to the free throw line, makes the first one, tie game, misses the second one. JR gets a great offensive rebound. Like, that's a great offensive rebound to get over Kevin Durant. And has a mind fart. Do you think people are being too hard on JR?
I do. Listen, don't get me wrong. It was a horrible play on his part. You know, very, I agree with you. That was a great offensive rebound, but it was a horrible play on his part. You know, listen, it happens to the best of them. Magic Johnson dribbled the ball out, you know what I mean, in a finals game. You know, we all know what happened with Chris Webber. You know what I mean? Some people freeze. You know, he thought that they were ahead, but I don't necessarily put that much blame on J.R. Smith. This is where I separate LeBron James from Michael Jordan. You know, and I don't know if you saw the extra footage after they went to the bench and you saw how LeBron James basically threw a temper tantrum. He should have been upset, but I think that as leader, you know, you're supposed to make sure, because his guy was at the foul line. George Hill was at the foul line. They didn't have to rush that foul shot. He could have made sure everybody knew what the situation was. Now, I understand that they're all professionals, but he's the leader. He never fails to tell us that in post-game press conferences, pre-game press conferences. It don't matter. He always tells it. And this is a critical game. You are heavily under, you basically told that you're not going to win this game. You know, so you're a heavy underdog. And I think LeBron James should have rallied the street and told him, like, this is the deal. You great offensive ball, we got one timeout left, you know, call timeout. You know, and that's basically what I think he should have done. Obviously, he didn't even know that they had a timeout based on his reaction when he asked Tyrone Lue on the bench. He didn't even know that they had a timeout. So I just think that J.R. Smith, although it was a bonehead play, I think that George Hill was the one that should have been the most criticized because he's at the foul line. It wouldn't have been a bonehead play from J.R. Smith if George Hill had made that foul shot. You know, we know that J.R. Smith is going to get one bonehead play. You know, but I think that he's getting a lot of blame for, what caused that loss. And it was a number of things that caused that loss. Like you said, I think the charge, you know, if they were going to review that play, you know, they should have, reviewed whether or not he was in a restricted area. You know, he was clearly out of the restricted area. That's what they told Tyrone Lue that we were reviewing. You know, so the fact that they overturned it, it was just ridiculous. It was a number of plays. George Hill missing a free throw, that lack of defense, that lack of composure after they went into overtime. I think the fact that LeBron James didn't communicate with J.R. Smith, he basically, shunned him on the bench, didn't have nothing to say to him. I think that carried over in overtime, and that's why they eventually lost by 10. I think they scored their first point, 3.5 minutes into overtime. You know, so I think this is where the leadership, quality of a, separates them too. You know, I just think that LeBron James being the best player in the world, he should have let his guys know what the situation was. Even though these guys are professionals, but he still should have let those guys know what the situation was.
I definitely agree with a lot of that, especially the overtime point, because it's not like JR lost the game. He just didn't win the game for you, right? He had a chance to win the game and didn't take that chance because he didn't know he had to put the ball back up. And the crazy thing is, what's lost on that, if JR puts that ball back up and scores, the story is, how did Kevin Durant not box out and let J.R. Smith get that rebound over him? So that's, that part of it is totally lost, that KD had a mind fart as well and didn't box out in that moment. There's no way J.R. Smith's jumping over Kevin Durant that moment. So he had a mind fart and didn't box out. George Hill, of course, let off the hook. I saw some people have criticized LeBron for passing the ball in that moment, but I can't criticize him for that because once George Hill made that cut, if Klay Thompson doesn't grab George Hill, that's a layup. And that was just great vision by LeBron James to see George Hill making that cut and the way they were guarding him. Because there was even an article that came out about how the refs missed the fact that Draymond Green was holding LeBron's arm during that play to where he couldn't really drive. So he was still being fouled at the time. Saw George Hill cutting and made a great pass to where Klay Thompson had to foul George Hill. So I think too much of the blame. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. My fault.
Too much of the blame, I believe, is going on J.R. Smith, just like you believe. Bonehead play. Easy. It's very memeable. So that's one of the reasons that he's getting all the blame, because the play is so memeable. The face that LeBron made after the play, which I understand right after the play. But I am with you going into overtime. Like, once you realize, okay, it's time, we're going to overtime, you have to rally the troops at that point. As the leader of the team, you have to get them together. Hey, we still in this. We just got 5 more minutes. Let's play like we've been playing. We can win this. But it seems like that energy from JR making that bonehead play did wipe out their overtime, because they were just not there in overtime at all. And you need this game. You absolutely need this game, because you are the underdog. You are the less talented team. And you caught Golden State maybe playing not at their best, and you're playing at your absolute best. You got to win that game. Did you have a response to it?
Well, I totally agree with what you just said. I also blame LeBron, initially, because I just thought that he had the hot hit. He was killing them all night. And in a moment of truth, he made a pass. I actually thought that it was out of bounds. I didn't know that it was a foul call. I thought it was out of bounds. And I thought to myself, like, why would LeBron take that shot? The least you could do is get fouled. You know what I mean? Kevin Durant, and nobody was stopping him that night. He was making threes, mid-range shots. He was driving. He was getting to where he needed to get to score every time down, just about. And on the most crucial play of the game, you throw it into George Hill. Now, granted, he got fouled. But you don't want the game to be decided on George Hill being at the free throw line. And I agree with you on Kevin Durant not boxing out. I think that he thought that J.R. Smith wasn't paying attention, because if you look at that play again, J.R. Smith had his back towards the basket. He was talking to somebody when George Hill shot the ball, and then he undercut it. So I think Kevin Durant thought J.R. Smith wasn't paying attention. But I just think that LeBron, in that particular game, I just think that, the way you were rolling, you had 51 points. They could not stop you. Kevin Durant actually looked scared to play against him, or play, for some reason that night, he just didn't look like the same guy. And I forget who was guarding him on that play. I guess you mentioned Draymond Green. Draymond Green couldn't stop LeBron. I just think in that play, LeBron, on that particular night, for that particular play, LeBron should have took the ball and took matters in his hands and went and tried to draw a foul or convert the bucket. So I think that was their only shot to win. I think they'll give a valiant effort in Cleveland. I just do not see them beating Golden State, not even once, man. You know what I mean? So after that was such a demoralizing loss. It was demoralizing for me, and I'm not even a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. So I just can't see them win. I just can't see them win.
Yeah, I agree with you with that, because, like I said, I picked a sweep from the beginning, and I was excited during game one. I'm like, please prove me wrong. Please make this a series. And when they gave that game away, you're like, that's it. Because LeBron's not going to score 51 again, because they're going to make adjustments. Speaking of adjustments, that's what they did in game two. Game two, the Warriors won 122 to 103. LeBron still had a great game, but it's crazy because he's so good. When you score 29, 13 assists, 9 rebounds, and over for 50% shooting, for LeBron is like a little disappointing. But his teammates didn't really show up in this game. Kevin Love had 22 and 10, but he shot 38% from the field. That's not good. That's a very ugly 22 and 10. Like, don't just get fooled by the double-double. George Hill had 15, but 12 came in the first quarter. So after the first quarter, he was non-existent. J.R. Smith, he started out the game aggressive. and I remember I tweeted that, like, I like how J.R. Smith started the game. He's being aggressive. And then after the first 5 minutes, that was over. It was no longer there. And the Warriors did what the Warriors do. You got to give a big ups to Klay Thompson playing through that high ankle sprain. I'm somebody who's suffered a high ankle sprain. When I tell you I didn't play for like 2 months, like a high ankle sprain is something Yeah, it's very painful. It's not something to play with, like Drake said. For Draymond Green, he had a very underrated game because he only had 5 points, but he also had 7 assists, 8 rebounds, played good defense. Kevin Durant had 26, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Steph Curry hit 9 3-pointers, had 33 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. Very well-rounded game for the Golden State Warriors. And this is what I expected in Game 2. After that Game 1 loss that we just talked about, I expected Game 2 to be somewhat of this type of game where Warriors controlled it the whole way. Did anything surprise you in Game 2?
I think that, I expected J.R. Smith to bounce back, to have a better game. I love the fact that the fans mocked him and when he was at the free throw line, and they actually cheered for him, when he was being introduced. But they mocked him at the free throw line, calling him the MVP. I think the Warriors came out and did what I expected them to do. Kevin Durant looked more aggressive. Klay Thompson, when he's on, he's on. You know what I mean? I just think that he's one of those type of pieces because when the injury first happened, I just thought he was done for the series. It looked like he rolled his ankle. You know what I mean? Like his body rolled on his ankle, and the awkwardness in which Klay Thompson fell, and the way he was crawling on the floor, I just thought it was over. And I thought that would be the opener for Cleveland to possibly have a shot in this series. You missing Andre Iguodala, who, by the way, I did not think was that big of a piece to their puzzle, but they are clearly a different team without Andre Iguodala on the floor. They are still great. They'll beat most of the teams in the NBA. But with Andre Iguodala on the floor, they just look unstoppable. Andre Iguodala, played a few years here in Philadelphia. I never thought he was that good or that valuable. But I see that he's one of those type of players. He's a very, very poor man's version of a LeBron James. I mean, the only reason why I put them in the same, sentence is because he can do a lot of the things that LeBron James can do minus the offensive ability. Like he can pass, he can run the point, he can play so many different positions on defense. He's very, very intelligent. He's very intelligent. But the one thing that stuck out to me in Game 2, even though LeBron almost had a triple-double, was his lack of aggressiveness on defense. You've seen times when LeBron James just took plays off. It was one particular play where I don't know, it wasn't even it was a fast break for Cleveland, and I think they missed. But he didn't get back on defense, and it resulted in a three-pointer. He does that a lot, and I think that's, I don't think that's good. You know what I mean? Especially in the finals. You got to give it all in the finals. You have to give it all in the finals. And for him to take plays off, knowing that he don't have the team around him that can pick him up, I think it's troubling. I think it's troubling, and I think it rubs off on the team. I've seen in the first 2 games two of the biggest reasons why Kyrie Irving left. You know what I mean? The fact that LeBron James, can show out his own player. Even though J.R. Smith probably deserves it, but LeBron has seen it all, done it all. He's a champion 3 times over. And you just don't show out your player like that. Even when you don't think the cameras is rolling. In the NBA game, the cameras is always rolling. The way he reacted on a bench, I was shocked by it. The way he just basically, hunched over and acted like he was falling out on somebody, and the fact that he refused to speak to J.R. Smith, it was troubling. It was troubling. And I think that carries over on the team, But I think the one thing that Cleveland has to do, Kyle, I think they got to bench J.R. Smith. I think they got to play Rodney Hood more. Kyle Korver is obviously a better shooter. I don't think Kyle Korver can guard me. I'll take Kyle Korver all the dribble, But other than that, I think they got to switch up the lineup. Give Golden State a different look. I don't think it'll matter much, but you got to try something. You can't just go down looking the same way. You got to try something.
I do like that suggestion of maybe starting Rodney Hood. Now, Rodney Hood, that could be hard for him because he's going to go from not playing at all to starting. But they did say, I think I saw Tyronn Lue come out today and say that he will give Rodney Hood a chance. Now, I don't know what that means, starting 5 minutes, 15, 6-man minutes. But Rodney Hood is somebody who's averaged 17 points a game in this league. So he's a proven scorer. You need that. Now, his type of scoring is something that may not go along with LeBron because he's not a stand-up three-point shooter. He's somebody who scores more in the mid-range. But maybe you give LeBron a break. And please get Jordan Clarkson off the floor. Why is he playing? Like, why is Jordan Clarkson out there? I understand Jose Calderon is as old as my mom, right? But he get him out there, give him a chance. He can run the offense. He can hit open threes. He's not going to be scared of the moment. Jordan Clarkson, I put a meme up in game 1 of a deer with bug eyes as a car was coming, saying this is Jordan this is Jordan Clarkson right now during the NBA Finals. So you could tell he's got the deer in the headlights look. He's definitely over his head right now. Jordan Clarkson doesn't need to be out there. So maybe you give Jose Calderon a chance at that point at backup. Like I said, understand defensively he's a liability against this type of team. But maybe you can hide him on somebody because you don't have Andre Iguodala out there. Now, I don't know if Andre Iguodala is going to be good for game 3. But if you don't have Iguodala out there, you can hide somebody on the Loonies of the world or the McGees of the world because they can't really take advantage of a post mismatch. You know, they're good for picking, rolling, getting easy baskets, but they're not going to post anybody up and go to work. So maybe you can hide matchups there. But I do like the suggestion of Rodney Hood, and that's kind of our next subject. Can the Cavs turn this around in any way? And do you think Rodney Hood's suggestion is the way to go? Is there anything else they could do to try to turn around this series?
They can only pray that, and God forbid this happens, that one of those guys get injured. That's the only way I see them winning this series. Is if one of the guys, Steph or somebody, God forbid, like I said, got injured. I don't want to see that happen, but that's the only way. Cleveland is overmatched. They are overmatched. This is a very, very good Warriors team. And I just don't think LeBron James has. And I agree with you. I love, the fact that, you could put in a Jose Calderon. And I suggested that, I didn't suggest it on air, but I was talking to a couple of my friends a few days ago and was saying the same thing because I like the tweet that you put up about Jordan Clarkson. And there was so many other people talking about how he just looked absolutely lost and scared out there. Why not play the wily old veteran? Like you said, he can run an offense. He can hit open shots. Why not play the wily old veteran? But other than that, changing up the lineup, probably, I don't know if Tristan Thompson started last game. I think Larry Nance Jr. started. But, I just think that, I like Tristan Thompson's, aggression. He's not being bullied out there, and I think that those guys need that. But other than that, I wish I could say more. But I can't. We both were talking sweet. You know what I mean? So it's not much you can do, to stop that. And I just think that Golden State is going to win their third championship in 4 years, and unfortunately, LeBron is going to lose his third championship in 4 years. And it sucks, but it is what it is, man. That's why you got to come to the Sixers.
We will definitely get into your Sixers here in a little bit. Now, speaking of those adjustments, I think it's more mental than anything they could do X and O wise. You mentioned LeBron. He has to show up on both ends of the court. In game 1, even scoring 51 points, he was playing good defense as well. You mentioned that charge that he took, the fact that he was hustling on defense, closing out. He was doing things on defense to lead by example. And I do understand that these are all grown men. They shouldn't need a leader per se to lead by example. But in all sports, we all have the best player that we look to. Like, I've been in multiple roles in sports. Like in basketball, I've been the role player. I've been the 8th guy off the bench. And in some rec leagues, I've been the best guy on our team. And it was my job to show an example on both sides of the court. Even though it was my job to score, it was still my job to go out there and hustle on defense. If I didn't do that, it would have a negative impact, on the rest of the team. So I think that's the first adjustment. LeBron has to be there on both sides. If you need to take a break because you're hustling so hard, take a break. You have to trust your NBA teammates to be professional basketball players and be able to handle you not being in the game for a minute or two. Just because if you got hustle hard, take a little break, come back in. There's no problem with that. Also, you have to be more physical. They have to be physical. In game 2, I didn't see them be physical with Steph at all. He's just out there shooting threes. Now, some of those threes were amazing. Like the one he made, the fadeaway he made over Kevin Love, there's absolutely nothing you could do about that. Nothing at all. I don't care who you are, who the defender is. Kevin Love did a good job on that possession. And Steph just was on fire. If that happens, you just got to shake his hand and say, I'll see you next time. But you got to be more physical. Mentally, you got to be there. Support each other. That's a big thing. Don't scold each other every time there's a mistake made. Because you can see the body language. Every time there's a missed backdoor cut, someone gets a wide open layup, you see the players pointing at each other. Whose fault was that? Instead of saying, my fault, I got it next time. Little things like that help. And I think that's what Cleveland needs. But I'm in agreement with you. I see it as a sweep as well. But Game 3 will be very competitive. They will come out in Game 3 playing with their hair on fire because they know if they lose Game 3, it's pretty much over. But speaking of your 76ers, I don't know if LeBron wants to go to a place where there's this much drama. Okay? Now, I had to have you on the show with this topic especially. So, there was an investigation by a website that found out there were 5 burner accounts that may be attached to the 76ers GM, or President of Basketball Operations, whatever his title is, Brian Colangelo. And these accounts were not just talking trash. They were talking accurate trash. And that's the difference. Like, there's a lot of egg emoji Twitter accounts that talk a lot of trash with their 23 followers or whatever. But these accounts were talking accurate trash. Talking about how Jahlil Okafor failed a physical. How Nerlens Noel was bad for the locker room and the coach wanted him out of there a long time ago. Also talking about how Markelle Fultz was at fault for his shooting and it wasn't really his shoulder, it was his trainer. Also called Embiid a toddler. Now, Brian Colangelo has denied having 4 of the 5 accounts. Now, there's one account he did say that he had, but that one account did not have any of the negative tweets about the team. But for you, a Philadelphia 76er fan, the biggest one I know, what are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, I think he was a snake from the moment the NBA inserted him into our team. On our team, I don't know what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? But everybody here in Philadelphia, we don't know if it was him tweeting. We all suspect his wife, you know. But it's somebody close to him that was receiving this information. Even if it wasn't him tweeting, he needs to be gone. Because he was relaying sensitive information, like you said. He was talking about, you know, physicals. You know what I mean? He even said something about Joel Embiid. He said that Embiid was the reason he didn't play much last year. You know, I'm assuming after that Houston game, when he hurt himself, he was the one that was telling the doctors whether or not he would play. You know, and apparently he called Joel Embiid and told Joel Embiid that none of it's true. And, you know, Embiid took him at his word. But they thought that everything else that had come out since that night, you know, I never liked Brian Colangelo anyway. You know, I hate the fact that the NBA meddled into our, you know, team affairs. They didn't like the fact that we were tanking. They basically made us fire, you know, Sam Hinkie. Because once they brought in Brian Colangelo to look over things, you know, it was basically, you know, a matter of time before, Sam Hinkie was going to leave. And eventually he was up. I just think that, you know, this guy needs to be fired as soon as possible. Now, the investigation is supposed to end tomorrow. And they got all these tech guys working on it to find out exactly where it came from. Regardless of where it came from, we know, like you said, the information was accurate, you know, and it came from somebody that's close to the team. Because nobody else would have known that. Now, I know there are some opinions, like, you know, the Markelle Fultz thing. We all understand that it's not necessarily his shoulder. His shoulder probably was okay like a month after he injured it. It was, you know, his trainer and whoever that was in his head that shit, you know, basically changed his shot. That's something that everybody was talking about. But the internal stuff that we didn't know about, and the fact that our GM is basically calling out our own players, that's not good. And I agree with you on the LeBron thing. If I'm LeBron, I'm wondering, if they don't have this thing situated, if they come back with Brian Colangelo, assume tomorrow they come back and clear Brian Colangelo. If I'm LeBron, and I read these tweets, I'm thinking to myself, after all the years that I've been in the NBA, that this was something that was internal. Even though they may not have found nothing, I still wouldn't trust talking to Brian Colangelo. I don't know how any player can trust talking to Brian Colangelo after that. I don't even know how an organization can have trust in Brian Colangelo. So I think they got to wipe their hands with him, buy out whatever it is, get him off the team, go after LeBron's old GM, bring him in here because, he loves, his old GM. Bring him in here, and there we go. LeBron will come right over here, possibly bring one of his friends, and then we'll be in the finals. We'll be talking the Sixers and Warriors because, well, I ain't going to say the Warriors next year because I don't know. I think Houston could have beat them this year had Chris Paul been healthy. I feel so bad for Chris Paul. But next year, assuming LeBron comes here and Vegas thinks that LeBron is coming here, we'll be talking Sixers in the final. Guaranteed. But we got to get rid of Colangelo. We got to.
Yeah, it's an ugly situation. And one thing that I've said, even when the Kevin Durant stuff went down on Twitter, if you can't say it as yourself, then don't say it at all. Like, if you can't stand behind your words and say what you're saying as you, then don't say it. Obviously, it's something that doesn't need to be said. Or man up, grow some balls, and say it yourself as you on your verified Twitter account. There's no need for you to be out here with dummy accounts and you out here having the drama with Kevin Durant. He out here liking comments on Instagram about Russell Westbrook like he didn't leave 2 years ago and it's still on his mind. With this guy, with Brian Colangelo, he's now, even though Kevin Durant's, almost 30, he's a grown man. Brian Colangelo is what? In his 50s, 60s, he's up there. So he's too old for this. Like, he's way too old for this. And that may be one reason why it's not him, because he's too old to be doing all this. But who else could it be attached to? It has to be somebody attached to him, like you said, to get this information. There's been some conspiracy theories that people think it's Sam Hinkie. And somehow he found out the information and was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get this guy back right now and do this, which would be awesome. That would be awesome if they figured out it was Sam Hinkie. I would be here for all the drama if that was him. But
I would love it.
It's very unlikely that it's him. He probably off chilling somewhere enjoying his money that he still got from being guaranteed. Now, when you have this, it will scare off other players. They're like, this is very unprofessional. I don't want to go to a place where they're airing out our dirty laundry on Twitter behind, bogus accounts. So I do think that it's like a little black mark. It's not a full black eye, but it's like the mark LeBron had on his eye after Draymond poked him in it on the season. All right? And let me just talk about that just real quick. Just a real quick tangent on that. I hate Draymond Green so much. Okay? So in game 1, if you guys don't remember, there's a play where LeBron's driving to the goal. Draymond comes over to help, gets his hands up, but accidentally grabs LeBron by the face, pokes him in the eye. Like I said, grabs him by the face, accidentally pokes him in the eye. I don't think it was on purpose, but he obviously grabbed the man by the face and pokes him in the eye. And complains about this foul call and gets a technical. If you're going to complain about a call, at least let it be somewhat close. Somewhere where it's somewhat questionable. You can't grab a man by the face, poke him in the eye, and then complain about the call. And then you wonder why people like Charles Barkley say they want to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And I love when Barkley, I don't know if you watched the post game. I think it was after that game. I don't know. He joined the crew after either game 1 or 2. And then Barkley, asked him, Well, they were talking about their little situation. But, Jimmy Smith told Barkley to tell Draymond some of the things he don't like about him. He said, I think the first thing he said was that there's never a foul that he committed because he complains about everyone. And I was thinking the same thing when he smacked LeBron, poked him in the eye. It was so obvious. But yet still he complaining and got a tech. The tech wasn't even, what's the point of getting a tech? Draymond Green can get a tech on just about every foul ball. You basically, because I watch some of the games with my son, and, when Draymond fouls people, they have a close-up on it. You can read his lips. It's basically, spell out what he's saying, and I just think that I'm one of those one of those people that don't like Draymond Green either. I don't even like the fact that his name is Draymond. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on him. I think he complains entirely too much. I know that that's his role to be, the emotional guy, to lift the team up, but he complains entirely too much for my liking. Even on obvious calls, as you pointed out. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on Draymond.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. As somebody who plays basketball, especially when you play with no refs, imagine playing with Draymond with no refs, and you call a foul on Draymond. How annoying that would be. How every foul would be a 15-minute argument because he doesn't want to give it up. He don't want to shoot for it. Because that would be my thing. Like, whenever I'm playing basketball and people start arguing, I'm like, just shoot for it. Just shoot for it. And he wouldn't want to shoot for it because he'd be like, I ain't foul you. He's the type of dude who walk off with the ball. I ain't foul you. I'm not giving up the ball. Like, oh, my God, that's annoying. That's just so annoying. But sorry about my tangent. Back to the 76ers. So you think Colangelo has to go 100%?
Listen, they just did a poll here, on our local radio show, one of our local radio shows, and it was 100% of the fans who voted said that he should go. He is disliked in this town. I don't think I've ever seen a person disliked as much, even before this situation. Because a lot of people feel like he got hosed with Danny Ainge. Because a lot of people, even before the trade happened, when it was rumored that the Sixers was thinking about moving up, everybody knew that Boston wanted Jason Tatum. They did not want Markelle Fultz because at the time, Isaiah Thomas was still on the squad. So what was the point of drafting him? And obviously Boston was in the works of dealing for Kyrie Irving. So what was the point of drafting Markelle Fultz? You had Jaylen Brown, who, he could play two small forward, mainly small forward. You were bringing in Gordon Hayward. It was just no reason for them to draft Markelle Fultz. Everybody knew that Lonzo Ball was going to the Lakers at 2. The Sixers was at 3. You could have grabbed Markelle Fultz then. But no, Brian Colangelo had to be the wizard that he thinks he is, give up a draft pick to move up 2 spots to draft a guy that Boston wasn't going to draft in the first place. Last year, everybody turned against Brian Colangelo. Everybody turned against him. And it has carried over. And then with this situation coming out, everybody, and when I don't know nobody that said, baby, let's just wait to the investigation, and I don't know about getting rid of him. No. This is a thing that's up for 4 years of losing basketball, and we knew that that's what they were that's what they were doing. We accepted it because we wanted to feel what we felt this year. We wanted to have what we had this year. And 2 upcoming stars. I think Joel Embiid is already a star. Ben Simmons is working to that, but you can see the talent in him. I love Dario Saric too. I love the team that we have currently constructed. This is the biggest offseason in Sixers, probably Sixers history. Or probably since 1982-83 before they got Moses Malone. They got Moses Malone to put him over the hump. I don't remember that. You know what I mean? I don't remember that. In my lifetime, this is the biggest Sixers offseason. You don't want to be fooling around with this situation with this guy. You've got to get rid of him. You got to get rid of him. You got players commenting on some other teams and GMs, unnamed sources, saying you got to get rid of them because the trust is broken. You got to have trust with your GM. You know, the owners have to trust them, the players have to trust them. And nobody does. Nobody does. You got to get rid of him. I'm mad that it's taken almost 7 days.
Now, I'm with you 100%. If this was New Orleans, because this is a big offseason for us as well, if this was, New Orleans GM, Dell Demps, like, hey, you got to get rid of him. You can't have people out here, especially if they were saying something bad about Anthony Davis. Like, that's the equivalent of saying something bad about Joel Embiid, the guy that's the leader of your team, the one that's, the defensive and offensive VP of your team. You can't have that at all. So I agree with you 100%. You got to get rid of him. It's a funny situation, but sometimes funny situations can lead to you losing your job. And that's what's going to happen in this situation.
All right.
So now let's move on to a sport that we both love, boxing. It's a huge weekend in boxing. As on June 9th, we have 3 fights that could be their own main events if they were just by themselves. Right? We have Terrence Crawford, who's going against Jeff Horn on ESPN Plus, which it should be on ESPN or ESPN2 at least. Like a lot of us who are sports fans do have ESPN Plus, but what about the normal people who just checking out that day? They should be able to see a talent like Terrence Crawford on regular ESPN. Right. On Showtime, we have a doubleheader, which is a huge doubleheader. We have Jermell Charlo, who is the twin who's in a lower weight class, not Jamal, but Jermell Charlo at 154 going against Austin Trout, who's a veteran who's been around the block. And we also have the rematch between Leo Santa Cruz and Abney Mares, which was a classic fight 2 years ago. So to start off, if you had to pick one fight out of these 3 to watch, which one would you watch?
I would say Terrence Crawford and Jeff Horn. I'm curious to see this kid again. Horn. After being in Pacquiao, I had not only seen him that one time. I think he lost Pacquiao, but he showed toughness. He showed a lot of toughness. I'm just curious to see how Terrence Crawford, as he's moving up into welterweight, I'm curious to see, will he go that, he's a better fighter than Adrian Broner. Hands down. But Adrian Broner, when he tried his hand at welterweight, he lost his punching power. He wasn't knocking anybody out. I think Terrence Crawford is a much better fighter, than Adrian Broner. To way better fighter than Horn. I expect him to dominate him even if he don't knock him out. But you can still see in these type fights whether or not he's the same Terrence Crawford, whether or not the weight gain affected his punching power. I don't think it will be the case, but I didn't think it would be the case for Adrian Broner as well. And Adrian Broner looked like he's tapping people when he punches in the welterweight division. Even when he hits somebody's style, it did not really hurt them. And so I'm interested to see that fight more so than anything. Austin Trout, he's a veteran fighter. I don't expect him to beat Charlo at all. I just don't. The last fight that you named, Mara and Santa Cruz, I think I watched that fight a couple years ago. This was a fight that I wasn't really much up on, but I'm definitely going to watch it. But the fight that I would want to see, that I will be watching, is the Terrence Crawford and Horn fight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. These are, I think, 3 potentially really good fights. Now, with Crawford-Horn, Crawford has the advantage skill-wise. Now, Horn is a naturally bigger fighter. He's been welterweight his whole career. This is Terrence Crawford's first time at 147. And I did write an article, shameless plug, for the 3pointconversion.com. You can go check that out, previewing this fight in detail. Now, for me, some of the things you said, can Crawford's punching power translate to 147? Can Horn show us that he really belongs in the elite of 147? Maybe he's like a Timothy Bradley. Remember, Timothy Bradley also robbed Manny Pacquiao as well. Well, I wouldn't say he robbed him, but he received a victory because of Manny Pacquiao getting robbed. And a lot of people were down on him after that, but he proved that he belonged with the elite in the division after that by beating some elite names. Can Horn have that same type of route. Now, I don't think Horn is as skilled as Timothy Bradley was, but maybe he can have that same type of route that Bradley had after beating Pacquiao. But Crawford is so good. He's so good. Like, in his last fight, he went against Julius Ndongo, who was undefeated going in, and just dominated and put the man on the mat with a vicious body shot. Like, when I say he had a grown man in a fetal position with his hands underneath his head, like he was about to go to sleep, that's when you know somebody hurt. Like, he put his hands underneath his head as if somebody put a pallet down and he was about to go to sleep. That's when you know you got some punching power. And I do think that power will translate to 147, but this will be a good fight to test it because Horn, like you mentioned, is somebody who's very tough. He's going to keep coming forward. He's going to take your best punches, and he's going to keep coming. And he's going to try to hold you, grab you. He might even headbutt you because he got Manny Pacquiao a few times. I don't know if Crawford's been in with somebody like that. So I'm very interested to see if he can adjust to those type of tactics in the ring and how he will adjust. Now, for Charlo and Trout, I call this fight the name game. For Charlo, being the smaller twin, he's trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to establish himself as an elite fighter, and his brother is on his way, and he's trying to get there. Trout is trying to get his name back, right? Because Trout at one time was undefeated, and then he went against Canelo Alvarez and never really recovered from that fight. After that fight, he lost to the Cuban fighter whose name is Erislandy Lara. Lost to him after he lost to Canelo. He won a few fights and then lost 2 more after that. Right? He's 31-4 right now, which is nothing to sneeze at, but is also not what you think of when you think of elite. And this guy was close to elite just a few years ago. If he beats Charlo, he puts his name back into that elite conversation. And maybe he can stay at 154, dominate that division, or go to middleweight and try to go there. But I don't know if he wants trouble, because he already lost to the older Charlo brother. I'm saying older, they're twins, but the bigger Charlo brother, Trout already lost to. And that was a good fight, though. Trout did give Charlo, the older Charlo, or the bigger Charlo, excuse me, a good fight. So I don't think this one will be a wash. I do think that he can give Jermell Charlo a big fight. And Jermell Charlo doesn't have the power of Jamal. So Austin Trout should be able to take those punches and keep walking forward. So I think that's something to watch out for in that fight. For the Santa Cruz-Mares fight, I do think the first match was a little overhyped. They did throw a lot of punches, but I didn't think it was that great a display of boxing. Then that may be me being a picky boxing fan or a boxing elitist, but for somebody like me and you, when we watch boxing, we can tell the difference between just people swinging their arms and great boxing. And I didn't see great boxing in that first match. Now, both these fighters, I do believe, are great fighters, though. So I do think the rematch will be even better than the brawl we saw in the first match. So I'm very excited for this boxing weekend. And something that's underrated, under the radar, Tyson Fury coming back this weekend. Tyson Fury's coming back, and he's fighting some guy who none of us heard of. But you've been off 2 years. I understand it. You got to get your warm-up in. Are you excited about Tyson Fury? Do you think he can exert himself into the picture with Wilder and with Anthony Joshua in the heavyweight division?
I mean, definitely. Definitely, because the heavyweight division is not that stacked. You know, you got a few good fighters out there, but it's not that stacked. You know, Tyson Fury, obviously, he's been off for a couple years. I definitely think that he can work his way back in the mix. Because eventually, let's just say, I'm hoping that Wilder and Anthony Joshua gets it on. You know what I mean? Eventually, I'm hoping that happens. And you never know. Especially the heavyweight division. You never know. Remember Hopkins, Rahman knocked out Lennox Lewis? You know what I mean? And it was just like, what? How the hell did that happen? Yeah, he was the champion. You know, in the heavyweight division, all it takes is one punch, and it would be a wrap. You know, so, and he can punch. Tyson Fury can punch. So definitely can work his way back in it. And listen, to be honest with you, I think Wilder and Joshua still, they technically me, they're not great boxers. Even though I think Joshua is a better boxer than Deontay Wilder, but they both are like, they not lifers. They're not boxing lifers. You know what I mean? You see weaknesses. You see, mistakes through each one of those guys make. I mean, Anthony Joshua's last fight, I was surprised as to how many mistakes and how, especially defensively, how weak he looked. You know what I mean? So, and Deontay Wilder the same way. Deontay Wilder is athleticism and power, but he can be hit. He can be hit. So, I definitely think that Tyson Fury can definitely work his way back in the mix.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not a big fan of Tyson Fury. I think he is extremely boring to watch. But he is a technically sound boxer, has a great jab, somebody who knows how to set up his punches. So he definitely can work his way back into the division, into the elite of the division. And maybe he will get the winner of the Wilder-Joshua fight if that does happen, right? Hopefully you don't have, there's other people up there like, the Dylan Whites of the world. But we've seen those guys lose to either Joshua or Wilder. So we need to go ahead and see Wilder and Joshua, and then maybe Fury can get in that mix a little later. One last thing on boxing. It was announced that Triple G, if he does not fight Canelo, has to fight the WBC mandatory, who is Jermall Charlo.
Wow.
Do you think... First question I'm going to ask is, which fight would you rather see? Triple G Canelo, part 2, or Triple G versus Jermall, Charlo?
I want to see both of them, you know what I mean? But I want to see Canelo and Triple G part 2 first.
Okay.
Listen, don't get me wrong. I think Canelo, showed that he can box with Triple G. But he also showed that he don't have stamina, nor I don't think he can hurt him. I mean, he has the quicker hands. He's very accurate, but you can't hurt him. And I think the fact that Triple G applies so much pressure on you, it can be draining. When you hit a man with your hardest punch and he just blink and just keep coming forward, that could be mentally draining. And I don't know if that's one of the reasons why, he was caught taking PEDs. Now I know that the meat in Mexico apparently had some, something in it that can allow you to fail a test. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I think that he took PEDs. I think he needed to get up for that fight. Everybody talked about Triple G's punching power, and it was on full display in his last fight. And I want to see that fight again. I think it was one of those great fights that just left a bad taste in your mouth because it wasn't a winner. It was a winner, based on public opinion. Like, it wasn't technically a winner because they called it a draw. And I want to see Triple G. I think Triple G deserves this fight. He's been fighting his whole career, not getting a big fight. It was sort of like Lamar Hopkins throughout his career. Poor Roy Jones early in his career when they were both young, but throughout his dominance of 20 consecutive middleweight title defenses, towards the latter of his career when he fought Jermaine Teller, that's when he got the big fight. But Jermaine Teller wasn't really that great. He wasn't that box office. It was when he fought, I think, Tito Trinidad and Oscar De La Hoya, when he really made some money. You know what I mean? I want to see Triple G make some money because no matter who win that fight, I think Jermall Charlo was weak, and I think he can possibly beat both of them. He could possibly beat both of them. I hope that Triple G gets his chance to avenge the draw that he had with with Canelo, before he fights Charlo, because that could be the end for him.
I was about to say that same thing. He needs to fight Canelo first, because Jermall Charlo, man, he looks just like a monster out there, man. In his last fight, man, both Charlo brothers have great technique, and the one that we're talking about is going to fight Triple G has massive power behind his technique. And there was a point in his last fight, sorry, I'm forgetting the guy's name that he knocked out, but when he had a point where he pivoted like a basketball player and put full power into that right hand. And when he caught my man Oh, I felt it. I felt it at home. Like, that man has true blue power. Like, and we haven't seen Triple G hurt, but we also haven't seen him go against somebody like Charlo. Like, Canelo has power, but Canelo's power is more, I think, accumulative, where it has to be a series of punches. With Charlo, that's one hit quitter right there. And like I said, he has the technique. He's proven to have stamina as well against a Trout and against other fighters they had to go the distance against. He may be the best in the division right now, but he's only had 2 fights in the middleweight division, so it's hard to say. So I think he needs to fight Canelo first. And I'm somebody who, I was on your show after the fight. I was one of the few people on the show that day who said that I believed it was an actual draw. So I do believe that he's in trouble against Canelo as well. I think it'll be a great fight. But if he gets past Canelo, gets that money, and then that next fight could be, I wouldn't say bigger because Canelo has such a big following, but if he beats Canelo, he can have his own following going to that next fight to make the Charlo fight big. So I agree with you there. I'm very anxious to see what he would do against Charlo.
Yeah.
But I want to see Canelo first. Now, I'm also interested in Billy Joe Saunders. I think that would be a very interesting matchup just because of the style of Billy Joe Saunders. And I love Billy Joe Saunders because he would just talk trash to you the whole time. Like, when he beat David Lemieux, he talked trash to David Lemieux the whole time he was whooping on him. And David Lemieux is nobody to play with. David Lemieux is a very...
I was about to say, he can hit like I don't know what.
Yes, exactly. My man has true power and pretty good technique, but Billy Joe Saunders, great boxer, great jab, and great footwork. So he was able to dance circles around David Lemieux and literally told him about it the whole fight, too. And for me, that's like, okay, wow. Somebody to be able to do that. And first of all, you know how hard it is to do something endurance-wise and talk while doing it? Like, not just boxing, but just running, jogging, doing whatever, and talking at the same time is extremely hard. So you got to have respect for somebody like that. Like, somebody like him, any performer like that sings while they're dancing and all that stuff. Like, that's why Beyonce's the greatest, because she could dance, do all that stuff, and sing at the same time. Like, it's absolutely nuts. But enough of my tangents today. Let's move on to sports trivia. So, sports trivia is where I like to challenge our guest and the people listening at home. And I always like to ask the guests about their favorite teams and their favorite sports. So today I'm going to ask Rashan some Philadelphia 76er questions, Eagle questions, Philly questions, and a boxing question. All right. I know I made it sound like a lot of questions, but it's only 4. So it's going to be 76ers, Eagles, Phillies, and a boxing question. Are you ready, sir?
Listen, I'm going to get 3 of the 4 right this time. You ain't going to stump me this time, for real. Yeah, I'm ready, my man.
So you got a good 3 out of 4 because Kelly got 3 out of 4. She was really, really proud of herself.
Really?
So, yeah. So if you don't want to get talked about, you got to get 3 out of 4. All right. Question number 1: who is the all-time leader in steals per game for the Philadelphia 76ers? Is it Allen Iverson, Maurice Cheeks, George McGinnis, or Julius Erving? Let me give it to you one more time. Who's the all-time leader in steals per game for the 76ers? Allen Iverson, Maurice Cheeks, George McGinnis, or Julius Erving?
Oh, my God. I know it's between AI and Mo Cheeks. I'm going to go Mo Cheeks.
Very good guess. Very close. But it's Allen Iverson. Yes.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
So, Allen Iverson and Maurice Cheeks both averaged 2.3 steals per game, but Allen Iverson, percentage points wise, is just above Maurice Cheeks and averaging 2.3 steals per game over his 10 plus years with the 76ers. Question number 2. We're going to go Philadelphia Eagles. The defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes, sir.
Who holds the record for catches in a single season for the Philadelphia 76ers? Is it Irvin Fryer, Jeremy Maclin, Brian Westbrook, or Jordan Matthews? Let me give it to you one more time. Who holds the record for receptions in a single season for the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it Irvin Fryer, Jeremy Maclin, Brian Westbrook, or Jordan Matthews?
That one is easy. It's Irvin Fryer.
Very good guess, but incorrect.
What?
Yes, the correct...
Oh, oh my God. I was so confident with the answer.
is Brian Westbrook. Yes, Brian Westbrook in 2007 caught 90 catches. Now, for only 771 yards, but that's a lot from the running back position. Irvin Fryer, to your credit, does have spot 2 and 3 on that list of most catches in a single season for the Philadelphia 76ers. So, let's end this on a strong note, the final two. Question number 3, we're going to go baseball. Which Philadelphia Philly batter has been struck out the most during their time with the Philadelphia Phillies? Is it Ryan Howard, Mike Smith, Pat Burrell, or Jimmy Rollins? Let me give it to you one more time. Which Philadelphia Philly batter has been struck out the most times during their time with the Philadelphia Phillies? Ryan Howard, Mike Schmidt, Pat Burrell, or Jimmy Rollins?
See, now, I want to say Ryan Howard, but Mike Schmidt played much longer with the Phillies than Ryan Howard has. But Ryan Howard had some massive strikeout numbers. Oh my God, he got me on this one. I'm gonna say Ryan Howard. Mike Schmidt is a Hall of Famer.
Mike Smith is a Hall of Famer, but he also does have the most strikeouts.
Oh,
Now, to Mike Smith's defense, and also to your point, he did play 18 years with the Philadelphia Phillies. So, of course, he's going to have the most strikeouts with that many at-bats at his record. To your point, Ryan Howard is second and played in a much shorter time period for the Phillies than Mike Smith did. The Hall of Famer had 1,883 strikeouts during his 18 years with the Phillies. All right, so question number 4. We're going to go boxing.
What was Ryan Howard's strikeout total? Because I know he was close.
It was pretty close. I believe he was over 1,700.
Oh, wow. All right.
For question number 4, we're going to go boxing. Who is the only boxer to defend his heavyweight title against both George Foreman and Larry Holmes? Was it Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, or Evander Holyfield? Let me get to you one more time. Who is the only boxer to defend his heavyweight title against both George Foreman and Larry Holmes? Was it Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis, or Evander Holyfield?
Mike Tyson never fought George Foreman. Oh my God. But I don't remember Evander Holyfield fighting Larry Holmes either. And I don't remember Riddick Bowe. I'm going to say Evander Holyfield.
That is correct. You should have guessed it. No, I'm going to go somebody nicknamed The Real Deal on The Real Deal.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah,
I don't remember him fighting Larry Holmes.
Evander Holyfield defeated George Foreman on April 19th, 1991 by unanimous decision. And he beat Larry Holmes on June 19th, 1992 by unanimous decision.
The old Larry Holmes.
So thank you for being a good sport during sports trivia. Here's a recap for the people. Question number 1 was, who is the all-time leader in steals per game for the 76ers? It is Allen Iverson with 2.3 steals per game. Question number 2, who holds the record for catches in a single season for the Philadelphia Eagles? It is still Brian Westbrook. In 2007, had 90 receptions for 771 yards. Question number 3, which Philadelphia Philly batter has been struck out the most during his Philadelphia career? It's Mike Schmidt, but like I said, he played 18 years with only the Phillies, so he should own that record, and honestly, he should be proud of it, because that means you really stayed the test of time.
Yeah.
And for question number 4...
That's a small number, too, for 18 years.
Yes, that's a very low number for 18 years. 1,883 strikeouts. And for question number 4, who is the only boxer to defend his heavyweight title against both George Foreman and Larry Holmes? It is Evander Holyfield, who beat George Foreman in 91 and Larry Holmes in 92. So that was the sports trivia. Did you make it out alive?
Man, the one question I got right, it had nothing to do with Philadelphia. I should be ashamed of myself. No, there's very, very good questions, man. Seriously, I mean, the first one with AI, that was a good one because I know Maurice Cheek. He led the Sixers in steals, for a lot of years. You know what I mean? I don't know if AI fought him, but I know he led the Sixers. He led the league in steals for a lot of years, and that's why I think that he finally got into the Hall of Fame because he was a great defensive player.
Yeah, definitely. He was somebody who played the passing lanes very well. Still remember that game winner where he got the steal on the other side of the court, and he was so fast, in a matter of like 2-3 seconds, he was able to get a layup, which no one else in the league probably would have been able to do. So shout out to Allen Iverson and Maurice Cheeks, man. He's still the leader in total steals for the 76ers, which is not steals per game. So now it's time for us to do Forgotten Players. Now, Forgotten Players is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great, great but not recognized, or players who you may have just forgotten about who we want to remind you of. Who is your forgotten player today?
Oh, man, the great Bernard King, small forward for a number of teams, you know what I mean? But mainly, he had his best years with the New York Knicks and the Washington Bullets. Career average 22.5 points per game, 4-time All-Star, 2-time NBA All-NBA first team, All-NBA second team, All-NBA third team, NBA rookie team, scoring champion in 1985. We averaged 32.9 points per game. I think he was one of the, when you mention small forwards, it was probably because of his injury history, but when you mention small forwards, a lot of people forget about Bernard King, how great this guy was. You know what I mean? I know he had some bad knees, but I do think that he lived up to his potential, and I'm glad that he's in the Hall of Fame, but I think Bernard King is one of those forgotten great players that people forget about when they mention all-time great players.
That's a very good forgotten player. Someone who, when you talk to players of that era, and even in his later years, like Dominique Wilkins talked about playing against Bernard King, and that was in his later years. He talked about how hard he was to stop. So this guy was somebody who was a professional scorer. Like, the way we talk about Kevin Durant now and Carmelo in, previous years, this man was a professional scorer of the basketball. So that's a very good forgotten player. Now, for my forgotten player, since it's such a big boxing weekend, you know how I am when it comes to these big boxing weekends. I get hyped. I start thinking about old fights. And so I had to go with a boxer for my forgotten player. And this boxer, his legacy is a little weird because he finished his career undefeated. Has some great records. He has some great names on his resume. But he's not respected on a high level of the greatest of all times because he maybe had some easy competition at first, fighting over there in Britain. I'm talking about Mr. Joe Calzaghe, if I'm saying that correctly. He finished his career 46-0. He started his career over in London. He was born in London, moved to Wales when he was young. He was known as the Prince of Wales. He's still the longest reigning super middleweight champion of all time. He had the title at 168 pounds for 10 years and had 21 successful defenses. So that's right up there in the level of Bernard Hopkins, what he was doing at middleweight. But the super middleweight division never gets that respect. You never think of great super middleweights. Like Roy Jones spent a little time there, but usually the great fighters, they spend a little time in super middleweight before they move up to light heavyweight. It's never someone who just stays at super middleweight and is known for their greatness at 168. There's not that many 168 pounders you think of as, man, that dude was a beast. So I think that's one reason why he doesn't get that respect. He also caught some great fighters kind of late. He caught Roy Jones on the tail end. Not his fault, but he caught him on the tail end. We don't know what would have happened in his prime. I'm going Roy Jones in the prime, though. He also beat Bernard Hopkins. Now, Bernard Hopkins is a little different because Bernard Hopkins went on to fight for a few more years and was kind of successful. So I got to give Joe Calzaghe some credit there for beating Bernard Hopkins. Not in his prime, but he still is pretty good. Jeff Lacy. There was a time when we thought Jeff Lacy was going to be that dude. Jeff Lacy looked like he was going to be the next Mike Tyson or somebody of that ilk. He went over there to fight Joe Calzaghe and got destroyed. And he's not old. This dude was in his prime. in ready and got absolutely destroyed by Calzaghe. He also has Chris Eubanks on his record, Robin Reed. So big shout out to Joe Calzaghe and Willis Reed as our forgotten players today.
Well, I don't know. Joe Calzaghe, I think that he ducked Roy Jones for a number of years because I know Roy Jones was calling him out for a number of years. And he caught both of them late, like you said. Bernard Hopkins was old when he fought Tito Trinidad. You know, I think that Joe Calzaghe benefited from fighting, you know, over in London most of his career. All of his career, because he never came to the States. You know, so, listen, I like him. I think you got to put an asterisk next to that 46-0, though. You know, because Jeff Lacy is the one, and I forgot about Jeff Lacy. That's the one fighter where you can say that he was in his prime and he destroyed him. I remember that fight. He destroyed him. You know, but when Roy Jones already had been knocked out, you know, by Antonio Tarver, Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson was one of my favorite fighters of all time. That should have been my forgotten player. You know, I love him. But, you know, I think that he kind of ducked Roy for a number of years because I remember Roy was calling him out for a while. And, you know, it was like, why don't you come to London? Like, you know, in his prime, Roy would have destroyed Calzaghe.
I agree. I do agree there. I do think he, like I said, he had a good record and he got some good wins. But I agree with the asterisk because when the time he fought Roy Jones was not the same Roy Jones. He had just beat Tito Trinidad, who had no business going up to light heavyweight. So it just at that point in his career, Roy Jones wasn't the same guy. And I do apologize. I said Willis Reed, Bernard King. Yeah, he did first round. Yeah, he did drop in the first round.
Yeah, dropped it. Mm-hmm.
And Joe Calzaghe was able to adjust because Roy didn't have the same speed and reflexes that he had when he was younger. So I definitely understand that. But big shout out to Joe Calzaghe and Bernard King as our forgotten players today. Hopefully you enjoyed doing the show with me today, man.
Man, I did up into the trivia, man. I don't think I finished better than 1 and 3. You know, but there's some great questions, man. Seriously, I feel like I'm on Jeopardy. You know what I mean? You Alice Trebek and I'm on Jeopardy. You know what I mean? So, listen, I'm going to get you next time, bro.
Definitely. Gotta have you on again. Thinking about having a bonus episode pretty soon, so I'm definitely going to hit you and Kelly up about that.
Definitely.
Please let the people know where they can find the show and where they can find you.
Again, you can follow the show at the Red Zone Live on Twitter. You can catch us every Friday from 7 to 9. We may take some weekends off, you know, because, you know, we got busy lives, you know what I mean? And you can follow me at BabyBlack1977 on Twitter.
Yes, please go ahead and follow and listen to that show. I am somebody who's a fan of what they do. You should be a fan too, all right? And for me, make sure you follow me at The Real Deal WDA. And that's on all platforms. On Instagram, you can catch me singing a thong song, Britney Spears. Like, we're going to have fun on Instagram. Yeah. So go ahead and follow me there. Follow me on Snapchat. I'm getting into it now. I'm not really a big Snapchatter, but you can get things from the podcast on there. Also, follow me on the YouTube at The Real Deal with Damian Adams on YouTube. The Real Deal with Damian Adams on Apple Podcasts, on Spreaker. Just subscribe and follow everywhere because it's free. Support. It's free to support. Remember that. All right? And until next time, go real or go home.